Hi, we're live with you guys. It says it. This one actually pops up and says we're live. Yay, StreamYard. Hi, everybody. It's Fridays with Sue and Steph until you give us suggestions that are different because we are doing a Your Teen TV live show every day at 10:30. Fridays are with Sue and Steph. So we could leave that name, but if you have any other creative suggestions, put them in the comments for us. And Steph, how you doing?
I'm good. Nothing new has happened in the last 4 minutes since I talked to you. I'm trying to think. No. The same. No. Hey, I was thinking when you just said about a title of the show, I was like, could it be like still in COVID, bored in COVID, exhausted in COVID, working hard in COVID?
So here's my only caveat. Those are all good suggestions.
Yes.
And
you don't say but.
And I think we want to plan for a time when it isn't COVID. So I don't know that we want to pick a name that's like locking us into this pandemic moment, No,
it's true.
So it's saying here that there we are. Okay, we are in fact live.
We are.
Yay. Anyway, so put some comments in there for us. We'd be really grateful to have you weigh in on what we should call this. Oh, and
I love our little let me point to it. So cute.
I know Jessica Port made that. Isn't that adorable?
So cute.
Yeah. So what do we want to talk about today?
I think our topic was maybe it's not frustration in COVID, but like awkward moments in COVID, maybe.
I would just say awkward moments this week in life.
You want to start?
Sure. Yeah. So, well, first of all, I feel like my story has a ton of layers to it. So my kids are all coming home for the Jewish holidays, and we needed to get rid of some junk in our house. And it's surprisingly hard to get rid of mattresses. Like the city won't pick them up unless they're in bags. The bags cost almost as much as paying somebody to take them away.
Oh, wow.
And then there was other stuff to go with it. So there's one of these 1-800, pick up your junk stuff. And so we called them, and this, it all sounds so good on paper. Like I had a friend who did it. They were all nice, but these two guys show up. Like, first it's supposed to be 2 to 4, then it's going to be 4, then it's going to be 5:30. So my whole afternoon.
You're not going anywhere, right?
Well, I actually did have to go somewhere, but I just stayed home all afternoon because that's how it goes. And so that's not a story in and of itself. That would not be repeated because how many times does that happen?
No.
You hire somebody, they're supposed to come at 2, but their earlier job gets later and later, and so that's how it goes. So then they come in the house and they're chatty and lovely. Except that one of the guys is like this. And the company has a policy that you wear a mask. So he comes in like this. And I say, hey, do you mind covering your nose? And he says, you don't have to. So I said, oh, well, to wear a mask effectively, you do need to cover your nose. And he said, no, actually, it's dangerous for you. So I said, really? I think we're getting our news from different places. And he said, well, my mother works at the hospital, and even the hospital says it's dangerous to cover your nose. You're breathing in your own air, and it's dangerous. And I have asthma, and I'm not doing it. So, now what do I do?
Is he in your house at this point?
He's in my house. He refuses to put his mask on in the way that, we've, in my house, have agreed that the way is to cover your nose. And I think he was confused with, how people would wear these bandanas and put them up. And then the CDC came out saying those are actually not only not effective, but really dangerous. And I never understood quite why, but yeah. That is what they said. But masks that are masks, I believe that most of us think that covering your nose is part of the whole process, right? Anyway, so my husband happened to be home at the time. So I went in the bedroom, and I also have asthma, guy, and I don't want to that. Mm-hmm. So I went in the bedroom. I told my husband to take care of it. Who takes care of things like that?
This is a real story right here, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, you know, Disney Dad takes care of the story by coming out and being all chummy and buddy and
With his superhero cape.
Yep, he's the superhero. I love the visual of the cape, though. I'm really thank you. And so they haul our stuff away. He gives them a very nice tip. And now the second part of this story for me is when I get the review, do I worry that this angry guy knows where I live? Like, you know, the world has changed so dramatically where like, what does feedback look like? I want to tell them, you promised me people would come with masks because it's in the middle of COVID and that's what your clientele wants. And that's not what you provided. But I also you know, is the guy going to get in trouble? Is he going to know it's me? I don't know. It's so weird. So maybe reviews mean nothing and we all just play this game of I don't know. Would you tell the truth?
So we had a really similar incident. So we went for our son's birthday. His big thing is like the hibachi place, which we haven't been eating in anywhere. I think we sat on like one patio, but he loves this place. I'm like, okay, we're going. This is a couple weeks ago, last week. And so we get in there and on the door, it says masks required. We get in, our server, he's got this going on, like under, you know, and he's server. He's handing out glasses and stuff. And I'm exchanging looks with my daughter, my husband, you know, we're all sitting there. And my husband's like, ugh. And I'm thinking, okay, if it was not my son's birthday, I would have just stood up and walked out. That would have been the end. Right? I didn't even want to. I was so uncomfortable anyway, and I was going for one reason, right? For someone I love, because it was important to him. So we're sitting there. Should we say something? My husband's like, I think I'll go up to the front. And then he's like, no. So the guy comes back out, and Todd looks at me and said, hey, could you put your mask on? He's like, and he told a little white lie, like somebody vulnerable or something. I can't remember what he said. And he kind of looked at Todd and he kind of had that icy glare, kind of like when Ethan was 3 and he was like, you're not the boss of me. So a grown-up version of that and add some expletives was kind of the look if it, you know, right. So we're all thinking, okay, now our food's getting spit in and whatever. Now it ends up, he was just bringing out the waters and stuff. They do that whole hibachi thing, right? So he wasn't touching any of the food. So we're like, okay, maybe we're safe. But at the end of the meal, as soon as we finished, I was like, okay, I was so uncomfortable. I had to get out. So the check is coming or whatever. We walk out. My husband said to me, I pulled him aside and said, I really appreciate you. And I appreciate that you put your mask on. You know, that meant a lot to me and my family. I appreciate you. And I was like, wow, that was such a, I was like,
that is beautiful. That's such a Todd story. And the thing
it's such a Todd story.
Well, it's kind of a Dan Todd story. Where's his cape? But the other part of the story is now that guy has to go back and go, God, I can't believe I spit in their food and they were so nice.
Oh, I feel so bad.
So, you know, it was really nice of Todd, but also very effective.
It is super awkward, and it is always, oh, what do I do? What do I say? And it's like, yeah, it's really complicated. I would love to hear if people have had these experiences and
share them with us.
What would you have done? It's really hard. It's really hard because, you know, I am somebody I like to think, and especially I think it relates to parenting. I'm like, you do you. You do your parenting. I think that's what our brand is about, is that we try and provide great advice and say, hey, layer on your family values. But there is this there's the health component, there's safety. You feel like, oh my God, especially if you're seeing elderly relatives or anybody who's compromised, or if you're compromised. And if you feel like you can do something or should do something, you're sitting there in this, all these roads are crossing, and it's so heavy.
So I think a little bit of it is that the parenting thing, it affects your family.
Yeah.
And people have different approaches to life, and they produce different personalities, but that's all your right.
Yeah.
You not wearing a mask appropriately. Like yesterday, there was a list of these teachers who have died, young teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So you hear these stories, and it's like it's not benign. This is not like now. I mean, I don't know how prevalent it is on college campuses. The kids, my kid had it. It was mild, but then I heard another story about a young kid who it was mild and then ended up in ICU. So it is very hard to know what to do. And the one thing we've been given that we can control is wearing masks. That's it. So, you walk into a restaurant and you are promised that the servers will be wearing masks. That's a fair expectation. I called a company. They promised that the people coming would be wearing masks. That's a fair expectation.
Yes.
So
yes. And that's a fair, and that's how we felt. We're like, it said on the door.
Yeah.
Right. So it felt like, okay, well, wait a minute. We entered into a space where this is what we were told. I think that's a really fair.
There's an agreement here. Like, if I have a party in my house and people agree to come and they don't ask a million questions, then that's another form of an agreement. But we entered, both of us, into agreements, and we were let down. Anyway, I do want to tell everybody we have a program Thursday night at 8:00, Facebook Live, and we are going to be talking with Ohio 529 College Advantage, talking about COVID and its impact on your 529 plan. And just in general, how can you use it? What does it pay for? And what should you worry about, et cetera? So 8 p.m. Eastern time, next Thursday night, Facebook Live.
And if you have questions, Sue, before that, is there a place where...
that's a great question, Stephanie. We have a Facebook event. You can find it at the Your Team page, and you can add your questions there, and we'll do our best to get all the questions answered. So we hope to see you there. If you have a kid in high school, it's definitely relevant. Yeah. And if you just want to get some scoop and you have younger kids, join us too.
Yeah, and kids in college who are potentially living at home, there are some things that you would never have known. You could be pulling out of your 529, like your internet expenses, if you've had to upgrade your Wi-Fi, et cetera. So some really interesting tips in there.
Okay. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.